The Korean Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, is a scar on the earth, a physical manifestation of a conflict frozen in time. It is a place of constant tension where the armies of North and South Korea stand face to face, a tripwire for a conflict that could engulf the world. Imagine a scenario: a US bomber on a routine patrol near North Korean airspace is suddenly targeted by a North Korean missile. The world holds its breath as the unthinkable happens. The bomber, a symbol of American military might, is struck and crashes into the Yellow Sea. This is not just another international incident. This is a potential trigger for a conflict with global ramifications. The fragile peace that has held on the Korean peninsula for over half a century would be shattered, replaced by a conflict with the potential to escalate into a nuclear confrontation. The Korean War, a brutal conflict that raged from 1950 to 1953, never truly ended. It concluded with an armistice, not a peace treaty, leaving the two Koreas locked in a technical state of war. Over the decades, the relationship between North Korea and the United States has been defined by mistrust, animosity, and the ever-present threat of conflict. North Korea, under the iron-fisted rule of the Kim dynasty, views the United States as its primary adversary, a hostile force intent on regime change. The US sees North Korea as a rogue state, a threat to regional stability, and a proliferator of dangerous weapons technology. The development of nuclear weapons became a cornerstone of North Korea's national security strategy, a way to deter external aggression and guarantee the survival of the regime. Years of sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and military standoffs have done little to alter North Korea's calculus. The US B-1B Lancer bomber, a long-range supersonic aircraft capable of carrying a devastating payload of conventional and nuclear weapons, was on a routine patrol mission over the Sea of Japan. Inside the heavily fortified North Korean command center, the appearance of the American bomber on radar screens set off alarm bells. Orders were issued, and within minutes, a surface-to-air missile battery was locked onto the B-1B. The missile launch was swift and unexpected. The B-1B crew, caught off guard, had little time to react. The impact, when it came, was catastrophic. The bomber, crippled by the explosion, tumbled from the sky, crashing into the sea in a fiery inferno. The immediate aftermath of the downing of the B-1B was a chaotic mix of confusion, anger, and fear. The United States, its military pride wounded, demanded answers and accountability from North Korea. Emergency sessions of the United Nations Security Council were convened, with world leaders calling for restraint and a de-escalation of tensions. In Washington, the president convened an emergency meeting of the National Security Council. Options were debated, ranging from a measured diplomatic response to a full-scale military retaliation. Meanwhile, in Pyongyang, the mood was a mixture of defiance and apprehension. North Korea, while claiming responsibility for downing the bomber, insisted that the aircraft had violated its airspace, a claim vehemently denied by the United States. As hours turned into days, the initial shock and confusion began to give way to a more calculated assessment of the situation. The United States, while vowing to hold North Korea accountable for its actions, stopped short of immediate military retaliation. Instead, it opted for a strategy of diplomacy and pressure, seeking to rally international condemnation and impose crippling economic sanctions on the North Korean regime. The United Nations Security Council, despite deep divisions among its permanent members, unanimously condemned the attack and called for North Korea to exercise restraint. Even China, North Korea's closest ally, expressed its disapproval of the downing of the bomber. The world watched and waited, caught in a dangerous game of brinksmanship. The downing of the US bomber sent shockwaves across the globe, triggering a wave of condemnation and anxiety. Governments worldwide scrambled to respond to the crisis, urging restraint and calling for a peaceful resolution. In South Korea, fear and uncertainty gripped the nation. The government, caught between its alliance with the United States and the desire to avoid war with its northern neighbor, faced a delicate balancing act. Japan, a key US ally in the region and within range of North Korean missiles, expressed its outrage and pledged its unwavering support for the United States. The incident served as a wake-up call for Japan, highlighting its vulnerability and the need to bolster its own defense capabilities. Leaders urged dialogue, diplomacy, and de-escalation, emphasizing the need to find a peaceful resolution to the crisis. The geopolitical earthquake triggered by the downing of the bomber had immediate and far-reaching economic consequences. Global financial markets, already jittery, went into a tailspin. The value of the US dollar plummeted, while the price of gold, a traditional safe haven asset, soared. Oil prices spiked as investors fretted over the potential disruption to global energy supplies. South Korea, a major exporter of electronics and automobiles, saw its stock market plunge as investors worried about the impact of a prolonged conflict. Japan, a key manufacturing hub, also felt the chill, with its currency weakening and its exports threatened. The economic fallout of the crisis served as a stark reminder that in the interconnected world of the 21st century, peace and stability are essential for prosperity. In the aftermath of the downing of the US bomber, a palpable sense of unease settled over the region. The incident, a stark demonstration of North Korea's growing military capabilities, raised serious concerns about a renewed arms race in Northeast Asia. Countries in the region, feeling increasingly vulnerable, began to reassess their defense postures and consider bolstering their military capabilities. South Korea, long reliant on the United States for its security, found itself contemplating an uncomfortable question. Could it rely on its American ally to protect its interests in the face of a nuclear-armed North Korea? Japan, another close US ally in the region, also felt the pressure to rearm. The potential for a renewed arms race in Northeast Asia was a deeply troubling development. As the world grappled with the implications of the downing of the US bomber, a different kind of battle was being waged in the realm of public opinion. Both North Korea and the United States, recognizing the importance of shaping the narrative, unleashed sophisticated propaganda campaigns aimed at winning hearts and minds at home and abroad. North Korea, with its state-controlled media and its tight grip on information, wasted no time in declaring victory. The downing of the bomber was portrayed as a triumph of the North Korean people over their imperialist enemies. The United States, for its part, sought to portray North Korea as a rogue state, a danger to regional stability, and a threat to world peace. The incident was used to bolster the case for maintaining a strong military presence in the region, and for continuing to pressure North Korea through sanctions and diplomatic isolation. The propaganda war, fought in the pages of newspapers, on television screens, and in the digital ether, was a crucial front in the broader conflict. For the millions of people living on the Korean peninsula, the downing of the US bomber was a stark reminder of the ever-present threat of war. The incident shattered the illusion of peace that had settled over the region in recent years, replacing it with a palpable sense of fear and uncertainty. Daily life, once characterized by a semblance of normalcy, took on a new urgency as people grappled with the possibility of a conflict that could engulf their lives. In Seoul, a bustling metropolis of over 10 million people, the mood was somber. The city, located just 35 miles from the demilitarized zone, was acutely aware of its vulnerability. Air raid sirens, once a distant memory of the Korean War, were tested, and bomb shelters, long neglected, were inspected. People stocked up on essential supplies, fearing the worst. In Pyongyang, the North Korean capital, life went on, at least outwardly, as usual. Public displays of defiance and military parades were organized, designed to project an image of strength and unity in the face of external threats. The downing of the US bomber served as a chilling reminder of the fragility of peace in the 21st century. In an interconnected world, where conflicts can quickly escalate and spread, the stakes have never been higher. The incident underscored the need for diplomacy, dialogue, and a renewed commitment to finding peaceful solutions to international disputes. The future of the Korean